Welcome, my name's Evan Williams. I'm the Cybersecurity Business Group Manager here at Microsoft Australia and New Zealand, and I'm joined by Michael.
Hey everyone, my name's Michael Turnley. I am a cybersecurity consultant at Arinco.
So from today we're going to discuss the Microsoft Digital Defense Report, and we're going to go into some of the return on mitigation findings and suggestions that the report goes through. And we're going to start with EDR. We found that 13% of customers have a lack of EDR coverage. And this is shocking. That defense in-depth approach is critical for protecting a modern digital estate. And the context here is if an attacker is able to get access to a device, then execute some of the malicious code and scripts, they're able to penetrate the organization. So it becomes critically important to have this defense in place. In addition to several ransomware variants this year, we observed a unique large-scale ransomware campaign targeting both endpoints and cloud architecture of an organization. So Michael, can you talk to some of the challenges and key actions that customers can take regarding endpoint protection?
Some of the challenges we see with customers and EDR coverage is many organizations manage a large number of devices and they don't know which devices are actually out there, which ones are managed, which ones are not. Many customers lack a bit of maturity in device management in terms of compliance, making sure devices are configured as they should be. We often see where EDR is deployed across the org, but failures are not reviewed or actioned. So you might have a successful install, but it's an unhealthy endpoint. We also see quite a few orgs missing the understanding between EDR and antivirus. People often deploy an antivirus agent and think that they are protected. The big difference here is that EDR will detect behaviors and detect suspicious patterns of command execution, legitimate commands that aren't malicious, but in sequence become malicious. We also see a lot of challenges around BYOD devices where people have got their home laptop that they purchased from the local store and are connecting into the organization and accessing confidential data. So some of the key actions we can take to address these things: there's a lot of auto onboarding capability within the Microsoft suite. You can auto onboard devices out of Endpoint Management, Intune. Your cloud VMs, you can auto onboard with Defender for Cloud. You can create deployment policies which force installation. You can then extend that onto your on-prem devices using Azure Arc and manage them in the exact same way. When you then have unmanaged devices, you can start doing things like blocking non-compliant devices. So enforcing that if a device does not have EDR, it is blocked from accessing any company data. When we look at how do we fix unhealthy endpoints, Intune lets you do things like proactive remediation scripts. It can detect unhealthy sensors and auto push out remediation scripts to try and remediate that and highlight to you where it's failed. In terms of devices you don't know about that may be on your network, one of the good technologies that is in the stack is the Defender portal. You can configure devices to do local device discovery. It will discover devices on your network, both Windows endpoints and network devices, and tell you which ones are unmanaged. So it's critical that you review that and keep up to date on machines that are in your environment and do not have EDR. When it comes to BYOD devices, one of the options here is let people use their own devices and treat them as completely untrusted, and bring in something like Azure Virtual Desktop, where you can have your fully managed, secure, 100% locked down environment that is consistent, managed by code, and always secure, and you can block that off entirely from the endpoint actually accessing that AVD device. Works really well because you can have cheap devices with your with your end users and a powerful VM in the cloud.
Yeah.
So some of the key technologies here that we've talked about: Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Cloud, Intune, and Azure Virtual Desktop.
That was great, Mike. I loved how you went through those actions. You spoke a lot about some of the zero trust principles that we recommend to our customers, and yeah, some great insights there, so thank you. Let's move on to the second return on mitigation point insight that we've got here. This point is around the fact that 60% of customers have insufficient protections for local accounts, which is way too high a statistic given how important this is. What's driving this is we can see a lot of weak passwords, customers using the same password across multiple apps. That reuse is just so dangerous, and there's not enough strong authentication. The report went into that customers use the same local administrator password for all Windows endpoints. And when our attacker gained access to one endpoint, they were able to move laterally and gain administrative privileges on all endpoints because of that shared password. Michael, this is just such a challenge that a lot of customers are facing. How do customers start to mitigate this security concern?
So some of the customer challenges we see here is that we have large organizations, many devices, and these devices are auto-deployed. One of the steps in auto-deploying a device is you generally must configure local admin credentials for the device to be deployed and be successfully on the network. So often what you'll see is all the devices, same local admin password, because people don't know better. It's easy. Everyone knows how to get back into the device if it drops off the network, off the domain.
That's right.
Done. We also see problems around local accounts with service account credentials. So you'll have an on-prem AD, people running highly privileged service accounts that may need to talk across servers, and weak passwords in there. Shared passwords across service accounts, and even highly privileged service accounts, such as running as domain admin, where they should be a more restricted level. So one of the key technologies here is called LAPS, Local Admin Password Solution. And what this does when you enroll a device in LAPS is that it automatically sets a unique, long local admin password on each device and rotates that monthly. Those credentials are stored in either your on-prem AD or in Intune. And when a tech needs local admin access and they have the correct privileges to access the local admin password, they can just jump in the portal and retrieve that. There's two options here for running LAPS. You can run it entirely on-prem out of on-prem Active Directory, or you can run it out of Intune with Cloud LAPS. A nice extension to that, because one of the protections that people don't realize is that a lot of your techs will have local admin with their domain account on all devices. And those credentials can be lifted in the same way by an attacker as somebody lifting the local admin password. So what you don't want is a tech with local admin across all devices logging onto a compromised machine. Their credentials get lifted and used for lateral movement. So you can actually use Windows Admin Center, which has inbuilt support for LAPS to connect remotely to your end user devices, always with credentials that only give admin on that device. Really good protection there. In terms of service accounts, we can move to manage service accounts within on-prem AD, and they will have unique passwords rotated automatically. So if one account is compromised, it doesn't compromise your whole org. And then I guess in terms of locking that down even further, we can move to technologies like Windows Hello for Business, which are passwordless technologies, and the credentials are tied to a device, can't be replayed across to other devices. Further protections against local password attacks on devices is implementing attack surface reduction rules out of Intune. These are very good at protecting against attackers stealing credentials from logged on users within a machine. Some of the key technologies we've spoken about here to assist you with insufficient protections for local accounts. We've got LAPS, Local Admin Password Solution, Entra ID Password Protection, your EDR products, which assist against detection and prevention of password stealing attacks, and the attack surface reduction rules.
Yeah, love the insights there, Michael. And I just brilliant how you went into some of the details, and you spoke about how, as an administrator, you can automate a lot of this protection by leveraging some cool tools. So that was great. Let's move on to the third return on mitigation in this section. Wow, we're finding 8% of customers have insufficient device security controls. So this is really meaning that they're not getting the device hardening done. They've got security baselines not in place. There's a lack of device management, and antivirus and anti-malware are just not consistently there. So, if you look at it, step back, this is something that everyone should be able to address, and it is critical. 80 to 90% of all successful ransomware compromises originate from unmanaged devices. So Michael, over to you to share some of the insights that we've seen customers been able to do to address this.
Thanks, Evan. So what we see with insufficient device security controls, there's a lot of challenges around here. Firstly, bring your own device and remote work have vastly increased the prevalence of unmanaged devices. People need to work from anywhere and they need to access services immediately. I think we also see quite a bit of a disconnect here with customers on how devices should be appropriately secured. There's so many options out there, there's so many configurations you can apply. What is secure versus what is not? What makes a good policy on a device? Some of the key actions we can do here to address this is maturity in your endpoint device management. Deploy the Microsoft security baselines. They will configure a device at a really good level to protect you against the vast majority of attacks that will hit an unmanaged device. You then block devices that do not have these policies applied from accessing your infrastructure altogether using compliance policies. We deploy, along with the security baselines, your attack surface reduction rules. These will really help uplift your security level. For devices, for mobile devices that you can't necessarily manage, you can implement MAM policies, mobile application management policies. What this will do is have a specific application on your device, such as Outlook, which has a management policy, meaning and you can enforce restrictions on that app so data cannot leave that. It can be remote wiped if the device is lost, stolen. Another thing we can do to address this is start restricting the access that unmanaged devices have to potentially confidential company data. If a device is not managed or not compliant, you restrict what it can have access to. A lot of these controls help mitigate what unmanaged devices can do, but when it comes to deploying it, it's critical that you get your device management product up to speed and enforcing those policies on all devices. So I guess some of the key technologies we've talked about here, Intune, Defender for Endpoint again with the attack surface reduction rules. We can start looking at application control, things around only certain apps can run on devices. And again, conditional access policies really help you enforce these controls.
Again, thank you, Mike. That was brilliant to go through some of the detailed actions that you can take in this critical area of securing devices. Thank you.
Not a problem, Evan.